So I'm excited and I'm nervous because today, which is July 26th, a Wednesday in the morning, I got this. Can you see?
Hey y'all, so it's the end of the day. We're tired. It's a weekday and I kind of forced my wife into doing this video and we want to talk about what it was like when we tried to get pregnant.
Yes, we're talking about the long journey to conceive. Do you want to start it off a little bit?
Yeah, I can. So when we first met, I had two children and they were 2 and 3 at the time. And the youngest, she was born in 2018, and right after she was born, I got um, my stuff done,
A
and
vasectomy.
yes, and because it just made a lot of sense because my wife at the time and I we were done having kids. We had two boy girl, and so we didn't want to have any more, and so I went in the year that our daughter was born, and because I'd already blown through the deductible on the insurance, and so it wasn't going to cost anything. So I think it was like a month after she was born, I went in and got that done. And I thought that I was never going to have any more kids. And then when we met, I realized, ooh, that's gonna we might have to rethink that. And so we started looking into what the process was going to be to get a reversal.
We'll slow it on down
Okay.
just a little bit. So we met in um, 2020, and during the dating process, I communicated to Charles that I wanted to have a child. And I knew that, you know, he already had two children who I loved and I accepted, but I also wanted to have the experience of carrying my own child. Um, okay, I just want to start with that because I think that was a big thing for us was prior to starting the whole process to conceive, I wanted to make sure that Charles knew that that was something that I was looking for in a partner to carry a child or be open to that.
And I love kids, so I was kind of down with the idea of having another kid. But I really didn't know what that whole thing looked like getting everything put
Yeah.
back together. And so
Literally, yes.
luckily I know a doctor, and so I started asking questions, and we started researching, and there was actually a if you remember at the time, we lived about an hour and a half apart, and so she researched a teaching hospital over there by where she was doing her residency,
Yeah.
and found a person over there who actually specialized in vasectomy reversals. And but first, so the funnier story is before that happened. Um, in the town where I live, I knew a urology group from some prior experience through work, and so I went over. I scheduled an appointment with them to go over and talk to somebody about getting it done, and it was interesting. I could kind of tell from when I first started talking to them that, they did a lot of vasectomies. They really didn't like doing reversals, but they had a guy who would do a reversal.
Dr.
Uh,
Shakins.
Dr. Shake. Oh, I was so scared. So I don't have anything against older folks, but I went in for the consult with this guy, and he was like, probably close to 70, and kind of had a little bit of a vibration to him, and I'm like, I don't know if I want you putting all my stuff back together. And plus he really didn't seem like he wanted to do it either. I asked him, I was like, so how often do these things work? And he's like, Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You just try, and I was like, that's not the answer I wanted. So, yeah, so we weren't. I wasn't really excited about my person, so that's when I went to Z, and she did her research, she did her diligence, and found somebody over there where close to where she was living, who actually specialized in reversals. That was 2021, right?
Yes, that we started the process. And so, you had your initial meet and greet, and he kind of took Charles' history, did the examination. And when we researched it, there was, of course, a chance that if we decide to conceive in the future, that we may have some difficulty, right? And the longer that you get out from having a vasectomy, the more difficult it is to do the reversal, and the possibility of it being also more difficult to conceive. So I think we were really gung ho to, if we were going to do it, and that was in the plans. And, I knew that I liked Charles, and obviously he liked me. That was something that we wanted to get on the ball with, so that we weren't going past the 3-year mark. Because I think 3 was the magic number at which it became more difficult to have a successful vasectomy reversal. And it also became more difficult to ultimately conceive after that.
Yeah, I think the stats on it, at least back when we were making the decision, it's if you get it done within 3 years, then I think you have a pretty good chance of being able to conceive.
Yeah.
It's something like 2/3 or 3/4 or something like that probability of conceiving. But then every year after 3 years, it goes down a lot. It goes down like
Yeah,
20%
it's
or
like this
something like that per
drastic.
year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a lot. So it makes a lot of sense to do it within 3 years if you can. And so I got mine done in, it was like September, October, something like that of 2018. And so that time in 2021, was going to be like the 3-year mark for me. So we're like, all right, we got to go ahead and get this done. Now we weren't really engaged yet.
We got engaged November 2021. And the procedure he had done in October of 2021.
So it
That's
was
right.
before. It was before. I was
Yes,
right.
it was absolutely before we got married. Correct.
Well, before we got engaged.
Yeah, I guess so. It was before we got engaged.
See, I know my stuff.
I guess we got engaged. I didn't even think about that. We got engaged the following month. I guess so.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess we kind of knew what we were going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you had to know that you really liked me, right? In order to commit to, he's not one to do surgery.
Yeah.
So I think you had to know that you really were planning to go the long distance with me, so to speak.
Yeah, I hate general anesthesia, y'all. I don't like being under. That scares me because I always think like, what if I'm not going to wake up? That's really weird.
But going past that, so Charles underwent the vasectomy reversal and it was successful, right?
It was.
And the next step after that was you have to give it a few months to like get the old swimmers out the tube, out, get it going. And so we thought, okay, 2-3 months in, hey, there's going to be a baby on the way. Not the case. And then it was 4 months out. Not the case. And then once we started getting into like April and May following the vasectomy reversal, I started to do like ovulation tests. I was tracking. I can be a type A personality at times. And I thought, I'm going to get it. It's going to work. I'm going to have it. It's going to be great. And I still could not get pregnant. And it got to the point where I was getting so what's the word, emotionally invested, I guess you can say, where once I would get my period, it would be such a letdown for me. Like I felt like I was getting into this depressed or anxious state, and I was wondering, why is everyone else getting pregnant around me? There has to be something wrong. And so that following summer, it was about 6 to 7 months into
It,
trying to conceive.
it was June of 23, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Um, I think I went to a gynecologist just for a quick check. And she was just like, hey, I think it's fine. I think you just need to try a little bit longer, maybe a year. She's like, everything's fine. She did a transvaginal ultrasound. I think she just saw a fibroid, which is benign, non-cancerous tissue, nothing that was going to be interfering with me conceiving. And Charles also, around that time, had a semen analysis, and there was nothing that was a standout that would interfere with us conceiving. And to be honest, that was a little disappointing. Not that I want to hear that something was wrong, but it's just like, give it more time. Maybe you're not having sex enough. Because at that time, we were still living apart. I was in residency, an hour and a half away from where
Yeah.
Charles was. So it wasn't like we were able to go, at it every day, so to speak.
And it was June. It was June of 23 when she got out of residency, and then we got pregnant in.
Oh, wait, you skipped a lot there.
Sorry.
And so 6, 7 months in, we found that study showed my ultrasound that there was nothing really stopping us to conceive. And the semen analysis was pretty much, looked pretty good in that regard. So we went a year into it and still nothing, right? Me tracking daily, getting my hopes up high and then getting a letdown. It was the craziest emotional roller coaster for me every month. And I would call him, hey, this is the time, drive here. And he would drive at nighttime just so we can do the nasty and head back home.
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half, right? So he was really making the investment. And so it got to the point where we were a year and some change out. And I'm like, I know they said there's nothing wrong, but we have to figure it out. So I sought out a fertility specialist that had a really good reputation. And that was a struggle bus, right? I'm sure they're really good at what they do, but getting an appointment or having appointments being canceled, it was just, I don't know, it was tedious. It was strenuous in both of us. And I went and had an HSG, which is hysterosalpingogram. And that is just something that they do to make sure that, like, your fallopian tubes, that things in your reproductive tract, there's no anatomical blockage or, anything preventing you from conceiving. And that was normal. Not the most pleasant experience if you've ever had one before. But I was just trying to do all the things. I had all the blood work done. And it got to the point where we were considering IUI or IVF also. We had that discussion too. And IUI pretty much is just where what I call the turkey baste. They obtain his semen, they time it, they give you some medication to like help stimulate ovulation, and they literally, stick it in there. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit disappointed in my body, right? I just wanted to do it the natural way, get down and dirty, with my husband and not require science to have a child. But that brings us to around 2023, June of 2023. I finished residency and I finally moved in with Charles, right? We were living together. And at that point, we'd come to terms that, hey, we might need a little bit of help. But I wanted to enjoy my summer. So we just went traveling. We went to North Carolina, we went to Canada, and the month of July is what it was. We were just going at it, right? Daily. We've never done that in our relationship, but we were just having sex on a daily basis. What, a husband and wife do now that they're finally living together. And I remember it was approaching when we were going to start IUI. It was actually a week before we had it scheduled. And I was waiting to get my period, right? Because getting your period, then you can kind of plan what dates you're going to go in to start the IUI. And I remember being annoyed because I had it planned. My period's pretty much regular. And I was like, where is my period? Um, and the reason why I was annoyed, around this time, I was going to start my first job as a family medicine doctor. And I was annoyed thinking about the fact that my IUI could interfere with my first week of
Yeah.
work. How would that work? And I was like, how's that gonna? I just started a job. I can't take off, but IUI requires that you go in or you make the appointment at specific time. And I remember just feeling so frustrated, like I just could not win at this. And I think I was a few days late on my period. And I was like, should I take a pregnancy test?
But we'd gone through that before quite a few times. I feel
Correct.
like every, there'd been probably 3 or 4 months when there had been like a little lateness, and then we'd done the test and we'd been let down. And
Correct.
yeah.
And I was just, now it wasn't even that I was thinking I was pregnant. I was just like, I was just doing things because I'm like, I'm trying to figure out, why did I miss my period? And me being me, I took a pregnancy test not thinking anything of it, because I've had at that point over 60 letdowns. I kid you not. I was, for the past year and a half, doing a pregnancy test every month. So I, was going to expect another negative. And so I took the pregnancy test and I got 2 lines, right? And my mind couldn't really register that, because after you've had over 60 negative pregnancy tests, you're like, And so I think I took 2 other ones. And I remember walking out and I just showed Chop, I'm like, hey, I think I'm pregnant. And it's funny that a few months ago, I'm backtracking. I remember my period was late. And this is about 6 months in us trying. And I knew that I was pregnant, okay? Because my period was about maybe 2 to 3 days later. And I just knew it. And I was like, I'm going to surprise Charles. And so I went to Walgreens and I got like a little gift bag and congratulations, daddy. No, I'm serious. And I was like, I knew it finally, because I was so regular with my period that being 2 days late, like that hadn't happened in the past year. And so I was ready. And I remember the day that I went to get the card and the gift bag, my period came, right? I was like, oh, I'm going to wait another day. And I was like, I waited another day and it's still not here. I know that I'm pregnant. And I got a pregnancy test, and I also got a card for Charles, like, congratulations, daddy, because I knew when I took the pregnancy test, it was going to come back positive. It did not. And when I tell you that it was just me, because Charles was, I was an hour and a half away, when I bawled, like the emotion, like it was just so overwhelming, because no one could tell me that I was not. I knew my body. And I just felt so betrayed, right? When you think about it, when it comes to conceiving, it really is a miracle when you hear about the stats each month about being able to conceive a child, and not having control over that. For someone who low key likes a little bit of control, it's the most frustrating thing, that there's nothing that you can do to expedite or, to obtain the child, right? Having a child really is a miracle. Anyway, fast forward back to that summer when I took that last pregnancy test before work, and it was positive. And so I literally just walked out the room. I remember I was like, hey, I'm pregnant. And you were like, what? And I think
I was so happy. I mean, because we've been.
Did you believe it though when I actually said that? Because there were so many, you tried so long We had it now
No.
planned that I was going to go to the fertility doctor. We had a couple of sessions with the fertility doctor. Did you actually believe that I was pregnant?
No, I was kind of like you. I was like, it's been so long, it's been so long. We've been let down so many times. We were just getting ready to start, intervention, and we were just getting ready
Yeah.
to start, having to go through all the stuff. And it's like, right when we're on the cusp of doing that, all of a sudden we've got, we did it. We did it.
My last period was in June of 2023. And it was in the end of July that I found out that I was pregnant. So it was almost, or we were more than halfway through 2023 before we conceived.
It was like 15 months that we were,
Yeah.
actively trying.
Yes, yes. And usually they say after a year, if you're, for me as a lady over the age of 35, and it's been over a year of trying, like you really need to seek help and or medical assistance. And that's what we did. And everyone's like, there's nothing wrong. Sometimes you can just have an unknown cause of infertility. And that was a little frustrating because I'm like, give me a reason. Is it fibroids? Is it something going on? Because then I can address it. But when you don't have a reason why, it's, it makes you feel a little, I don't know.
But then everything turned out great. Our baby boy was born, absolutely no problems.
Yes.
March 28th of 2024, and he's getting ready to be a year old, y'all.
Yes.
He's walking. He runs around the house. He jumps around and plays with his brother and sister, and
He's so sweet. He's a perfect mix, I think, of you and I, right?
yeah.
I feel like personality wise, physical traits wise. I mean, he probably looks more like his daddy, but he got a little bit of his mama chocolateness in him. But yeah, he's just a perfect personality, and his big brother and sister love him. Seeing them play together
Yeah.
warms my heart. He was the perfect product of the fusion of our love, so to speak. And I think what we should do is probably insert. I the day that I found out that I was pregnant, I made a little video on my phone, and I don't know. It's looking back at that video, it's pretty sweet. So something maybe that I think I want to share with you guys.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that would be nice.
Yeah.
So that's our story. That's how we made our baby.
So I'm excited and I'm nervous because today, which is July 26th, a Wednesday in the morning, I got this. Can you see? Your girl's pregnant. And it's only one. I know I can't get too excited, but I know I'm pregnant. I've never had an incorrect pregnancy test. And the way my body's feeling, your girl's knocked up. I'm excited because this is the child that I prayed for, that I've had so many negative tests that I cried for. I started this whole process of finding a fertility specialist, getting labs done, getting an HSG done to make sure there's no obstruction that will cause us to have difficulty. Charles has had labs done just to make sure we're both okay. And, all of our labs have come back normal. And now with just trying daily, living together and trying daily, right here at the age of 35 in July, the year of 2023. I've been a mama, and I'm gonna actually grow.